So your judge, this is the part of yourself that says you are right and they are wrong. This is the part of you that likes to argue. This is the part of you that has a very linear way of looking at stuff. All right? Now, a lot of what the judge uses to orientate with is, again, it's that map that you have from when you're a little kid. But what we want to do with our judges is we want to start questioning everything. So question things. So question builds curiosity, and question asks the judge to look at things from different angles. So a story I have is when I was younger, I was a very angsty little girl. I was sad, I was angsty, I was everything. And I kept snapping at people. And I hated this behavior in myself because, well, I didn't like it. I didn't want to snap at people. I wanted to start trying to really ground myself. So I started asking myself different questions. And the first question I wrote down was, in what way was my behavior frustrating? Now, let me tell you, there are so many ways in which my behavior is frustrating. But that first question did the job. It pulled me out of the situation and made me start looking at things from different angles. Because when we're pissed off or when we're in an emotional state, our thoughts tend to loop. They can feel thick. Like when you've had an argument with someone, you kind of sit in this space of, he's right, I'm wrong, blah, 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 blah. And the problem is the argument's ended, but it's still going on in your head. So you want to create tools to actually diffuse those arguments so that you can expand the perspective from which you're considering things and take the punch out of that looping narrative. So I came up with this question, in what way was my behavior frustrating? And then I came up with others. Like I started asking myself at the end of disagreements, what were the external stresses? What are the things that are stressing them out? What are the things that are stressing me out? I came up with other ones, like what is my goal for this relationship ultimately? Like what do I actually want out of being with this person? And again, the process of pulling through these questions actually expands your mental map of consideration. So you're looking at things more broadly. And I'm telling you this, guys, because I have decks of cards, but you guys can make your own decks too. These are the questions that spoke to me, and these are the questions that I chose to use, but you guys can start to unpick and unhinge the narratives inside of you. For me, the other ones that I wanted to use was mistakes. It's so important, guys, for you not to label your actions as a mistake, a failure, something bad. Whenever there's a little part of you that goes to label a situation with that kind of language, get your judge, get out questions and start questioning what your judge is saying. Ask yourself, well, what do I know now that I didn't know then? Who else was involved? Who else influenced the situation? What are the lessons that I can take from this? Ask questions to diffuse your narrative and extend your perspective. So this little deck is probably the thing that's closest to my heart because it's based around CBT. But like I said, this is a practice that you guys can do yourselves and really rewrite the narrative and expand the map from which you're considering things. So this is Reframe. I'm not going to go into it too deeply, but Reframe has the categories of disagreements, hindsight, transitions, and decisions. And to me, these were all scenarios where I wanted to anchor and expand the thoughts that I was using to consider things with. The last little piece I want to give you guys is, I've been talking a lot about expanding maps and talking about why it's advantageous to broaden your perspective and see things differently. So I want to talk quickly about neuroplasticity. So your brain has the ability to change, shape, and grow. When I was younger, we were told that our brain was stagnant. At a particular age, the cells just slowly started to disintegrate. But what we now know is that, our brains can shape and grow. So if you have one thought, one train of mind from which you consider things, think about, again, with the map, you're used to walking down that trail. It's the same old path that you keep on walking. If you want to change that map and you want to reshape your mind, you have to take yourself off the trail that you're used to using. And this is why questions are key. When you ask yourself questions, you're asking your mind to consider things differently. You're expanding the reach that your map has. And like the first time you go off the trail, it hurts, right? You get stuck with sticks and your leg gets scratched and you're like, oh fuck, this is shit. But the more times you do it, the more times those changes and those new directions start to wire into your neuroplasticity. So like for me now, I think with so many questions, and I love this. Like if you practice asking yourself questions, you'll come into situations with so much more curiosity. So much more. And then my last thing is like curiosity, it breeds empathy. Nothing, or so often nothing, is as it seems. Like when we look at people who have traits that feel kind of narcissistic, like know that those people inside of them have scared, upset little children that are desperately trying to be seen and heard. Often the people who are the loudest and the most cocky have the scaredest little boys and girls. So when you start questioning your judge and you start questioning the things that you take at face value, you can actually start to expand the lens from which you see things. So if you ask these questions of yourself, you can start to tune in and naturally start to ask these questions about everyone else.